Lesson 6.6 is parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel and perpendicular lines. First, we're going to talk about parallel lines, so make sure that you write this key word down. Parallel lines are lines in the same plane that never intersect. And here's an example. They never intersect. The equation of the red line is y equals 1/2 x plus 3 over 2. And the equation of the blue line is y equals 1/2 x minus 1. Now, take a second and look. What do these two equations have in common? Well, hopefully you said that they have the exact same slope. Any two equations that have the same slope are going to be parallel. So parallel equals the same slope. So make sure you have that in your notes. So non-vertical lines are parallel if they have the same slope and different y-intercepts. Any two vertical lines are parallel. So, determining whether lines are parallel. So are the graphs of y equals -1/3 x plus 5 and 2x plus 6y equals 12 parallel? And explain. So here's what they did. They figured out that this second one is in slope, or is in standard form. So I want to solve that to see what the slope would be and see if it matches my -1/3. So what they did is they subtracted 2x from both sides and then they divided by 6 and then they saw, oh, well, here's my equation. So this has the same slope as that. So yes, they are parallel because they have the same slope. So now try this on your own. Are these two lines parallel? Okay, so I have my first equation, so I'm going to just work with this one. -6x plus 8y equals -24. So I'm going to draw my line. I want to get y by itself, so I'm going to add 6x to both sides. Well, I can't add a 24 and a 6x because they're two completely different things. So I'm just going to rewrite it, 6x minus 24. Now I chose to write the x first because I like to write it in y equals mx plus b form. So I put my x first and then my y-intercept second. And then I'm going to divide by 8. So then I get y equals, now I'm going to divide these in half. So 3/4 x minus 6. So now, is this the same slope as this? Yes, they are parallel because they both have 3/4 as a slope. All right, so writing equations of parallel lines. Write an equation for the line that contains 5(1) and is parallel to y equals 3/5 x minus 4. Well, you should know, if they want it to be parallel, that I have to use this same number. I have to use 3/5. That's not an option. So what you're going to do is you're going to use point slope form right here, and you're going to put in this point and that slope. So they put in this point, y minus 1 equals 3/5, and then x minus 5. They put in these two numbers and this number. And then they solved this, and they got this equation, y equals 3/5 x minus 2. So try this. Write an equation for the line that contains 2, -6, and is parallel to y equals 3x plus 9. So you're going to use point slope form. Whoop. Okay. So now you would get y plus 6 equals the slope, which is 3, and I got that from this equation, times and x minus 2. Now, I put plus 6 because it really would be minus -6, so I could rewrite this. So it would be y minus -6, but instead of doing that, I just added the two negatives together and wrote y plus 6. Because remember, if it's a -6 and you're putting it in here, that's two negatives, so it makes it positive. So then you get y plus 6 equals 3x minus 6. I'm going to minus 6 from both sides, so then you get y equals 3x plus 0, or no, minus 12, sorry. So y equals 3x minus 12. And that is parallel because you have 3x and you have 3x. Okay, perpendicular lines, so write this down, are lines that intersect to form right angles. So right here, the blue line and the red line, here's their equations. The equation of the red line is y equals negative 1/4 x minus 1. And the equation of the blue line is y equals 4x plus 2. So if you look at their slopes, they're kind of similar. However, what they say is two lines are perpendicular if the product of their slopes is negative 1. So if you multiply them together, you'd get negative 1. So what this is called a negative reciprocal. So you want to write this down. Negative reciprocal is the product of two numbers is negative 1. So like in that last example, negative 1/4 times 4 would be like 4 over 1, would be negative 4 over 4, which equals negative 1. So if I have a slope, say I have a slope of 3 and I ask you to write the negative reciprocal, it would be negative 1/3. You're going to make it into a fraction and then make it a negative. So they kind of just show you an example here. Start with a fraction, negative 3/5. Find its reciprocal, negative 5/3, and then write the negative of it, which would make it a positive 5/3. So there's the whole process. 3 steps. Start with what you have, flip it around, and then make it the opposite, negative or positive. Okay, so which equation describes a line that contains 0, negative 2, and is perpendicular to y equals 5x plus 3? So if my line has to be perpendicular, then I know this equation is off because that's parallel, 5 and 5. If I'm just looking at the slopes, just look at the number in the front of the x, which is 5. Well, I know 1/5 also doesn't work, and I know 1/5 doesn't work. So by process of elimination, I just found my right answer because it has to be a negative reciprocal to be perpendicular. Okay, so try this. Try one on your own. Write an equation of the line that contains 1, 8 and is perpendicular to y equals 3/4 x plus 1. So you're going to use point slope. So you're going to do y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, now y minus 8 equals, now this is 3/4. So I'm going to flip that around to be 4/3 and I'm going to make it negative because I want the negative reciprocal and then x minus 1. So now I have y minus 8 equals negative 4/3 x plus 4/3. I just did this. And then I'm going to add 8 to both sides. So my equation is y equals negative 4/3 x. And then this is 1 and 1/3 plus 8 would be 9 and 1/3. So there's my equation. All right, a bike path for a new city park will connect the park entrance to Park Road. The path will be perpendicular to Park Road. Write an equation for the line representing the bike path. So here is Park Road, okay, and they want the bike path to be perpendicular and it would come in from the park entrance. So as you can see here, they did this line here and they want it to be perpendicular. So try this problem and then we'll go over it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first find the slope of the line, Park Road. I'm going to find the slope of this line. So here's my point, and here's a point. So I'm going to do rise over run. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. So it'd be rise over run, which is 4 over 2, which is 2. So my slope is 2 for the red line. Now, this is going to be perpendicular. So I found my slope. That's my first point. My slope equals 2. Okay? Now, I have a point, which is 0, 4. And I have a slope because it's going to be the negative reciprocal. So if I want to write an equation, I would start with my point slope equation. And my point is 0, 4. And my slope would be negative 1/2 because it's going to be the negative reciprocal of my other slope of Park Road. So now I'm going to do y minus 4 equals negative 1/2 times x minus 0. So then I have y minus 4 equals negative 1/2 x, and then that's minus 0. So then I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So then I get y equals negative 1/2 x plus 4 is the equation of that line. And I can check that by looking at this line, okay, and my y-intercept is 4, so I have that right. My y-intercept is 4, and my slope would be negative 1/2. So if I start here, if I go over 1, it's going to go down 1/2. So I know my equation is correct by double checking it. All right, that's it for your notes.